Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back with another video from Totally Not Mark, continuing with his Naruto review, part 12, and I think this is the last part of the 4th Shinobi War arc, and then I think he's going to do the finishing off bits after the fact, and someone mentioned in the comments of my last video that he's going to be touching on the last Naruto movie as well, which should be interesting because, yes, it is very canon with the story. So let's see where we go with this one, shall we? I hope he likes this because, oh mate, this bit of the war arc has got you got the Kakashi Obito fights, which is going to be sick. No. Sick.
Come on, man. I said I'd edit your damn videos. Just don't hurt me. Good to have you on board there, buddy. Lovely guy that Tom, but
that's hilarious.
About anime, so this will be funny if nothing else. Now, back to business. Over the last
Here we go.
I've covered and reviewed the 4th Shinobi War arc, allowing myself to experience some genuinely great moments that I think could stand alongside some of the best moments in the series, all the while brute forcing my way through.
This has some amazing moments. Good thing you ain't watching the anime. So many filler.
A large part of this arc's middle section contended with that very issue I found. However, last week's video also ended on a high note as Naruto realized a form emblematic of his self-acceptance and unity with
Let's go, Super Saiyan 3! Yay!
Visual flair of a Digimon fight.
And we've literally just had that happen in One Piece with the Joy Boy upgrade.
No damn idea, but we're gonna find out today. I'm Totally Not Mark, and this is my final review of the 4th Shinobi War arc, its climax, and the penultimate review on the entire Naruto
What
series.
Linkin Park song have we got? Ah! Love it. Let's try something else. 45 calories. Smooth talking like Gazelle.
The visuals in the manga looked stunning, and we finally scratched and clawed ourselves out of that rut I agonized my way through in the last video. And I'm happy to report that I enjoyed this portion of the arc so much more than its middle. In my last video, I had a growing issue with the sheer volume of scenes and how
Flashbacks. You had a problem with flashbacks.
Sasuke re-enters the fray, all the while we focus on 3 specific conflicts, all with 3 different flavors.
Yo, Kakashi Obito.
Naruto versus Tobi. This was the battle that made this arc a joy to read.
Absolutely sick. Absolutely sick. Kakashi's realization of the camoing.
Within this battle alone, that I'd honestly be happy if this was all we got. As many of you know, I'm always a big fan of techniques that impose their own unique tensions in a fight.
Yeah.
And this is no different. When it's announced that Naruto only has 5 minutes with the newly acquired fox form, I could feel my attention focus in on the battle.
Sweat.
And this is great because in the early stages of this fight, Kishimoto ensures that Naruto's character remains consistent by having him not give up on or take out the remaining Bijus. Thanks to his interaction with Son, I can't believe that's his name, Goku, he knows that he can save all of these entities. He wants to free them. Naruto will not compromise on his ethics or morals.
No way.
And his decisions like
Let's go!
Yes!
Yes!
Feels true to the characters, and so as a result, it feels less like an author dragging his fictional puppets around an artificial stage. And
Harry Potter,
more so
Harry
a
Potter, Harry
decision
Potter.
that aligns with his specific character's mindset and philosophy, which makes things all the more exciting and real. Capping all of that off with some outrageously brilliant manga illustration and paneling to
So sick.
Biju bomb from Naruto,
Run
it
away.
feels fittingly huge, and I'll admit, I was just sort of sitting there admiring them for a few minutes too. This is all to say that the beginning of this fight I loved. There's a tremendous sense of unity and fate associated with a particular flashback to the Bijus when they were young, and Naruto seems to be...
Hey, Rugrats is getting a remake. Whoa.
This was great. It's made all the
Song
better.
41. There's so many clips I'm just getting that just makes me feel old.
Conflict number 2. The 5 Kage versus the reincarnated Uchiha Madara. I think
Dino
much of what
Force.
I like about this fight comes by way of Lady Tsunade's contribution, particularly when the first Hokage's image, Hashirama, is used for intimidation purposes by Madara. Pitting the image of her grandfather against her perceived own
Yeah, it's close enough, right?
belittles her abilities and efforts and cites that there was only ever one who was worthy of fighting him, the first Hokage, her grandfather. It's a tried and true cliche in shonen and storytelling in general, but effective nevertheless when the target of this ridicule rises to the occasion, proving that the words lobbied against her were wrong. There's some really nice Tsunade shine here too with the focus.
Yeah, but then Madara just bounces back and is like, so...
Finally, conflict number 3, Sasuke and Itachi.
Hell yeah, we got Pokemon reference. Excuse me. This fight was freaking boss. Itachi's just a genius.
But one I found myself much more invested in than I was otherwise anticipating was Kabuto's altercation with Itachi and Sasuke. Kabuto's sort of
so sick.
Being there from the beginning. He's always been a means to an end for the main bad guy Orochimaru. I found him interesting from a utilitarian standpoint, but when it came to him specifically, I never found myself asking the question who he was or where did he come from. And I think that's part of what makes Kabuto's progression to this point so appealing.
Yeah, we don't really care. We've seen it happen.
Power and more influence as the story trudged on forward was enriching, and it all came to a head in this section through an illuminating flashback that helps to put us as an audience into the right frame of mind to view him finally. And that's not even to make mention of this.
Itachi. Amazing.
Cool idea to play around with on behalf of Kishimoto. Resurrection, when it was initially brought up, was something I genuinely thought was interesting. It was a chance to explore a lot of what-if scenarios that we otherwise wouldn't get to explore. I did get a little bogged down last week when the story focused harshly on one aspect of the resurrection angle, which got very, very old quickly. Thankfully, however, this is something entirely
Mate,
new.
most emotional scene in Naruto.
Characters. Instead of seeing two
Oh, don't even show it.
have Sasuke having been granted the chance to actually talk to his brother again, to potentially alleviate some of the emotional
Unreal.
baggage he's
It's
carrying.
unreal.
I mean, like him or hate him, Sasuke's still just a kid that's been through hell and back. I'm surprised he even knows which way is up.
Yeah, he's got a lot going on recently, hasn't he?
Through the forest on his way to Kabuto facilitated some of my favorite illustrative and paneling work from Kishimoto. There's a tremendous commitment to allow this moment, and indeed us as an audience, the space and time necessary to
I cried so much at the end of the Kabuto fight where Itachi finally says goodbye to Sasuke. It's like, oh god, it's so painful.
Seeing a ghost when his older brother zooms on by. With Kishimoto switching from current time to flashback panels back to present day, it helps to perfectly capture exactly what
Sasuke's feeling,
as he
yeah.
begins to give chase. It's brilliant and brings to light the potential regret, confusion, and amazement Sasuke has for...
Yeah, like he knows the truth now. It's like, Itachi, come back.
Both from a dialogue and action perspective, as I wasn't entirely convinced I knew where Sasuke would land in terms of aligning himself. And while that made for some intense moments, it also helped me relax and enjoy the wholesome tag team these two brothers eventually became. And in terms of callbacks, Kabuto can now tap into Snake Dragon Sage mode. I'm really glad that Naruto and Jiraiya weren't the only ones to tap into this
Yeah, it's nice to see there's another option for Sage mode. That was sick.
Kishimoto can focus on the choreography and drama of the situation. It doesn't need to be explained to us.
Just mention it's Sage and it's like, ooh, this is a big deal.
Utilize this technique after so long with a different spirit. It goes a long way in helping this world feel all the more believable.
Yeah, there's so much more going on.
So, okay, enough being around the bush. Let's talk about Kabuto's flashback.
Let's
He was a kid
do
that
it.
started from quite literally nothing. He had no memories or anything, and is now one of the most dangerous people in the known world.
Very
He was
much
saved
so.
from the ruins of battle and loved immediately. Danzo and Orochimaru manipulated the situation,
Excuse
taking
me.
his mother away on a mission for the Foundation and Kabuto into Shinobi training. 5 years in, he kills his adopted mother inadvertently, and she didn't even recognize him due to the really screwed up brainwashing practices that honestly make way more sense than I'm comfortable with admitting.
Yeah, it's
Last
weird.
week, I know I was the there is way too many flashbacks guy, but I sincerely thought that this flashback in and of itself was very...
Well, it wasn't a flashback that we were aware of. That's where it's different.
He's been a recurring one for quite some time now, and finally having context for his actions and the philosophy behind his connection to Orochimaru was refreshing.
Yeah, he doesn't even need the glasses, does he? Yeah.
Fully fleshed out beginning, middle, and end. It's very much its own self-contained short story, in fact, and by virtue of all of that, set itself apart in my eyes from almost all of the other short and throwaway flashbacks in the prior preliminary matchups during my last video. Kabuto wants to fill the void in his life that he's felt since childhood. He wants to be...
And Orochimaru offered that.
He's found a profound jealousy with those that can identify as Uchiha. Someone that can possess a moniker with which they can identify themselves as someone rather than what he believes he might be. No one. It's creepy and also very sad. It's really interesting. And then we get to the Izanami technique. Dormammu, I come to bargain.
Oh, mate, yeah, the thing that Itachi throws on him.
Kishimoto did this first, but I couldn't help but
Yep.
laugh when I saw that scene. The similarities were too similar. That said, I wasn't laughing in a mocking way, but just in that I was having fun with the moment.
Yeah, you're relating it to something else that you know, yeah.
Sacrifice, and specifically preying upon the my head up on first reading. But Volume 62 hits like a train. It wraps up the conclusion to Itachi and Sasuke's story quite beautifully, while also providing a justification for Itachi's horrible actions that ultimately became the motivating factors behind Sasuke's entire journey. This is a world-altering moment in his young life, and the way it's presented...
Oh my god, so freaking emotional, man. Cried so much. Cried so much.
Was Dan's impromptu reuniting with Tsunade in the middle of battle to protect her. In these situations, I found that less is more. You can present the most climactic battles I've ever seen and demonstrate characters performing death-defying feats of unimaginable
Fuck off!
but all of that will never match the feeling of a single-page spread of a brother reaffirming his love and pride in his younger sibling.
So amazing.
White background when two lost souls finally find each other once again. And okay, I need to take a few minutes and talk about what happens from chapter 595 onwards, concerning the battle between the union of Kakashi, Guy, and Naruto versus Toby.
Mate.
Amazing. And
I love how he's still not giving away, even though he knows what's happening.
Well-orchestrated build-up, which was delivered in a phenomenally engaging, exciting, and mysterious fashion. Okay, so this might seem like it's coming from left field a bit, but this reveal reminds me of all the reasons why I loved early Sherlock on the BBC, and why I really was interested in it with the later seasons. When you're writing a mystery story, above all else, the most important component to its narrative creation is providing the reader or viewers the chance to successfully piece the story together
themselves. Yes, love that stuff.
Latter seasons of Sherlock seem to focus less on the mystery and more so on the individual characters, opting for a story driven specifically by drama and less so about the mystery itself. Which, I mean, is fine if you like that sort of thing. I didn't, but that's just my taste. The reason why the first episode of Sherlock, The Study in Pink, worked so well for me was due to the specific narrative decision made to anchor it around the answer to a given mystery. During the 90-minute runtime of that very episode, we as viewers are presented a series of murders with the circumstances they all took place within.
That's something I like. I hate when it just comes out of nowhere and you're like, wait, what? Okay, we'll just believe that then. Give me the opportunity to figure it out at the same time.
The questions are said aloud to us to hear intentionally, and they beg us to try and solve it for ourselves. And so the point of all of these inclusions is to place us in the mind of the individual who's solving the mystery. And when it's eventually revealed, or the person, us, who pieces it together eventually does so, there's a tremendous feeling of catharsis as a result, both for the character and indeed us reading or watching. We feel this way, we feel the aha moment, if you will, because we have ourselves to blame for solving this mystery.
Yeah, it's sick.
This naturally builds investment into the story you're interacting with, and furthermore builds respect between you and the character who uncovered.
Yeah, because you're both doing it at the same time.
Exactly what happened here with Kakashi and Obito Uchiha.
Mate. Yes, this is sick.
Observant and patient Shinobi we've come across. Despite Naruto's massive surge of power in recent times, Kakashi still manages to believably provide utility to the emerging conflicts in ways only he can. Particularly in this instance.
Oh my god, this is so sick.
To figure out who he really is and ultimately to formulate a plan of effective attack. In doing so, Kakashi's blade scratches the mask of Toby, and in that instance, the ball drops and Kakashi understands everything about how Toby's jutsu works, and moreover, who this individual
because it works with his.
And the mechanism with which this story unveils that is utterly masterful to say the least, and might I say extremely elegant and simple. Kakashi was the only one who could have made this connection successfully because he's the only other person who has that same ocular power.
Yep.
What a
So
reveal.
sick. So sick.
As he rationalizes this theory, landing successful attacks, mind you, Kishimoto himself handles the eyes of Kakashi and Toby side
By side.
visually communicating exactly who this person actually is before it's revealed. Giving us
So sick that we get the opportunity to understand what's going on, yeah.
earlier in the story to allude to this very conclusion too. And then we get the flashback. Jeez, okay. For a story that leans far too heavily on flashbacks, this still hit like a train.
Yeah.
Which speaks
Here we go. The flashbacks are hitting hard here.
We've already seen how Kakashi received his eyes, and so this flashback instead focuses on conveying to us the humanity, the childishness, the hopes, the dreams, the insecurities, and the early life of Obito.
Obito, yeah.
Drawing specific similarities to Naruto too, and Kishimoto does this entirely without any dialogue. It's beautifully handled. With with the reveal of who is indeed beneath the mask cutting to the core of Kakashi as seen in his expression. Despite this being spoiled for me, the magnitude of my enjoyment, horror, and excitement
Still sick.
while reading this was remarkably high. And remember,
Yeah, I loved reading at the time and having no idea. It was just like, oh,
63 is even better.
yo, let's go.
To say I flew through this volume is an understatement of the century. The volume is filled with either massive reveals or extended and vicious
Got a lot going on.
flashbacks.
Got a lot going on. Where are you?
The course of action
Just
of the
there.
remainder
In
of
point
the
star.
story.
See it.
It's
Oof.
extremely pivotal. And by the way, when I saw Uchiha Madara as some old guy in the origin of Obito's story, I was like, wait, what? So I guess not all the surprises of this section were lost on me after all. I think, more than anything else, what this volume managed to convey to me is just how much work Kishimoto has put into the narrative of this story. For this conclusion to involve so many different characters from so many different backgrounds and generations, each with their own rich histories, philosophies, and motivations, all thoroughly fleshed out, by the way, for all of that to come together.
None of it seems like out of nowhere.
Is one of the most difficult and cathartic magic tricks a writer can pull off. And for me, someone who was spoiled on one of the foundational reveals contained within this section to actually enjoy it this immensely should stand as a testament to the writing acumen of Masashi Kishimoto in this instance. It's totally incredible.
Yeah, it's boss. It's insane.
It's
sick.
For the eyes and mind. Watching as Kakashi's hero turns out to be the villain of the century, and then Naruto throws his words back at Kakashi only to regain his resolve, it makes me remember that there are 3 generations in this fight, 4 if you count the Kage, and, oh geez, okay, I didn't even mention the entrance Madara made.
Yeah, here he is.
Being released, he managed to remain, and not just that, in the middle of this scene between Naruto and Obito, he shows up before the scene switches to the bloodied heap.
He's just annihilated the Kage.
So much time dedicated to these villains that I honestly am just so damn excited to see how this thing progresses.
It keeps going.
These are the best collection of chapters in the entire series, easily. You might have to wade through a lot of mid-shonen in the second act of this story, but holy fuck is it worth it! The battle that rages on between these two parties is utterly nuts to the nth degree, far beyond anything I've seen in this series. Visually incredible and narratively captivating. Watching Naruto, Kurama, and Kakashi manage to find a way to survive amidst all of this chaos is crazy to see unfold, and then Kurama runs out of juice. He needs time to regain his chakra, and what's more is the situation worsens. The ten-tailed
oh, made the 10,000 men with Obito.
Starting to look like Naruto and everyone is done for when
it gets worse. Let's go! What's that for?
So long since we touched base with these guys, I honestly totally forgot about them. Again, brilliant pacing.
Bring in everyone we haven't seen yet.
Their presence here works double duty, with them not only serving a utility in buying Naruto more time to charge, but to also signify the world that Naruto and indeed all of them are fighting for, thematic, one of unity and peace. They are, as their name suggests, allied forces, flying in the face of Obito and indeed Madara. It's honestly difficult for me to articulate and to even accurately capture the excitement I had while reading this week. To help put it into perspective, normally I read some here and there as I go about my week while writing as I go. With this one this week, I read through 6 volumes in a single day, and I also wrote
easy done with Naruto, Jesus.
And it felt like nothing. There's just
I'm speeding through Berserk right now, like, I can't stop, it's just so sick.
Madara and Obito's mission to brainwash and enslave the world. And there are sacrifices too in this that brought a tear to my eye. Neji wasn't a character I should allow time with in the story, unfortunately, but his sacrifice stood in line with
Mate,
his
that was sad. That was sad.
I did quote back to Naruto that he really needed to hear from a time which made me realize just how far this journey has taken me. And then we came to Shikaka. He has been a character that's contributed one of the most emotional sequences in the story, and one that was helped immeasurably by the anime way back when. He's never been in the spotlight for long, and he's almost always been a supporting character. And I think it's for that very
Do you mean
reason
Shikamaru?
that this particular moment here, his sacrifice hit me so powerfully. He's a terrifically written
Shikamaru.
character,
Alright, not Shikaku.
unafraid to do what he needs to in order to give his son, his family, and the next generation a future.
Oh, okay, cool, he does.
This really got me. And in triumphant fashion, it's this final parting gambit that leads to one of the most incredible unifications of power, facilitated by some of the most unlikely of sources that gives them this chance. It's stunning.
Transition.
Kept me waiting. I just realized something. I totally forgot to mention something super important. So, remember Kabuto, right? Well, through him, Sasuke brought Orochimaru back, but why? To what end, you might be asking? Well, Sasuke wants to know the truth and has and some questions
He wants to
for
bring the
Orochimaru
Hokage
specifically. So,
back.
long story short, Orochimaru might not have the answers, but he has taken Sasuke to Konoha in the middle of a war to help him answer some of these questions being, what is a village, and what are shinobi? And when I saw what Orochimaru did to answer these questions, I was super excited. The dude resurrects all 4 fallen Hokage.
This is sick, to be fair.
To the very first Hokage, Hashirama, and getting to see all of these characters interact with each other for the very first time was hilarious, exciting, and super interesting. I felt myself
Dead interesting. Like all 4 of them are so different in the way they approach stuff.
Needed to come to a close, and a much more serious story and response from Hashirama.
Hashirama's the
The
best.
ignition for this conversation to actually take place wasn't necessarily Sasuke's request. As pointed out in the story by Orochimaru himself, despite the Second Lord being the creator of the Edo Tensei technique, Hashirama is the only one capable of terminating it, and thus the decision was his to make. This is the very first time we've gotten to actually see how characters interact with Hashirama.
He's so freaking intense.
Strength and presence through his adversaries, but never strayed from the horse's mouth, and I love how candid and approachable this person is. Again, his temperament strikes me oddly similar to that of even Naruto, and fittingly, the very reason he's chosen to have this conversation over helping
Funny that,
and the world
how they have that going on.
He believes Sasuke will become the next Madara, which makes the introduction of this flashback all the more epic. Not for its action, but because this could be a prelude to the conflict that rests on the horizon between Naruto standing in for Hashirama and Sasuke standing in for Madara. Hashirama remarks to himself numerous
Funny
times in
how he
this
keeps
volume,
saying it.
conflict, no matter what the era. The flashback in question that takes place is by far the most detailed and longest in the series. Taking up more than 60% of volume 65, it is a fascinating read, comprehensively telling the story of both Madara and Hashirama.
This is definitely needed to like further push the what happens with the Sage of Six Path, mentioning to Sasuke and Naruto later.
Beginning as naive and optimistic children with plans for a peaceful future, eventually becomes a war of ideology. A war where a vision of a pessimistic reality stands in opposition to honest optimism for the future. One where the teachings and ultimately the hatred from both sides pass on down the poison that ultimately leads to the downfall of Madara, and on a long enough timeline, Konoha and the rest of
Konoha! Just say it once, please.
brothers turned sworn enemies have to contend with the reality that they are faced with. That in life there are no clear-cut solutions, no matter how honest or well-intentioned you might think you're being. I think, alongside the flashback with Obito and Madara, this flashback is the best the series has demonstrated.
It's sick.
In which I found myself oddly attached to the character of Hashirama and even very sympathetic towards Madara. Someone I never thought I would feel any sympathy for, but in the end, that's exactly what the story has made me feel. That fighting for a world where children no longer have to deal with the looming nightmare of war is worth fighting for. It strips them of their lives, their innocence, and, in Madara's case, their light, leaving only darkness behind. Time and again, with each subsequent Hokage signaling their own unique shortcomings to one another, one inalienable thought comes to the mind of Hashirama yet again. And at the same time, Sasuke is left to decide the fate of his group and indeed his village. Ultimately, he decides to head towards the battlefield, for alongside each and every one of these famed shinobi of the past, each flawed in their own rights, Hashirama once again reaffirms something in his mind, that there may always be conflict no matter the era, but this time, it will be the end of wars. Kakashi is just fucking cool, okay? There, I said it.
Well, yeah,
He's
the most incredible character ever.
I love seeing how Kishimoto draws the dude. But anyways, Kakashi and Obito end up fighting and arguing ironically.
The most amazing fight ever. The most emotional fight ever.
Comes from people speaking in rooms. Without story, these scenarios have no meaning and therefore lack the qualities that compel people to listen once stripped of all the bells and whistles. But when you can put two well-established characters in a room together with conflicting
The way it
ideologies,
flips
then there are
between
few
the old
things
and the
more
young.
compelling than
Oh.
that. The conversation between Kakashi and Obito is just that, a compelling conflict of ideology. And it makes me feel all the more sympathetic for the lost Obito and so much more supportive of the resolute Kakashi. There's a portion of this conversation that succinctly breaks down the exact argument here for Kakashi. He says, and I quote, "The hole in one's heart gets filled by others around you, but people won't flock to someone who abandons the memory of his friends and gives up on the world. That won't help fill the hole in your heart, and people don't help those who run and do nothing. So long as you don't give up, there will be salvation." This is a superbly worded quote that strikes at the heart of this this conversation, the main character of Naruto himself, and indeed most of the major conflicts throughout this entire series. And fittingly, as if symbolic of this resolve Kakashi is vouching for, Naruto's and the rest of the Shinobi Allied Forces resolve is finally rewarded.
Here we go.
This is the part of the video where I devolve into making nothing but childish sounds because all of this is just so damn cool. Like,
It is
just when you
really
think things
damn
could
freaking
get
cool.
even more awesome, they do. Within seconds of each other, mind you.
What? Don't think so, mate.
Shit. I swear.
That was dead good. That was dead good.
Right next to Naruto. Maybe because of
That was
the
dead
tension I
good.
was feeling at the time, but I just burst out laughing. I was so excited
Yeah.
seeing Cell 7 reunited for the very first time in what feels like
Let's see
hundreds of
Sakura
years,
do
fighting alongside each other for their village's well-being. So much of what
something.
transpires from this point on is wall-to-wall, or should I say page-to-page action. It's a feast for the eyes, even made me, someone that's only recently picked up Naruto, feel an incredible amount of nostalgia. And everything just comes together in the best of ways during this section. Shikamaru takes over from his dad in formulating a strategy. Heck, Sakura makes it known that she knows how to fight using the diamond on her forehead like Tsunade, which
Yeah,
I
but
wasn't expecting, but again,
she's
totally
alright.
loved. There are so many interesting little dynamics at play exploding around the environment. It's here that Naruto as a story truly basks in the time it's taken throughout the series in building up its characters. Everything from something innocuous like Kiba looking for attention in becoming Hokage, to something dastardly like Madara's shifting demeanor when Hashirama shows up.
That was funny. I'll deal with you later. Wait, what? Ooh, you can see the age.
Showing the full scope of how far everyone has come in such a long time span. I just know there's going to be so much more conflict between these three, particularly Naruto and Sasuke, and so much so that I'm just going to enjoy this brief interlude in the violence and fighting, because things are about to get really, really bad for everyone.
Oh yeah.
Guys, this is where I'm going to have to leave off this week. Next week will be my final Naruto video covering this series. I can't believe I'm saying that. It's been so long.
That's
Make sure
crazy.
to like and subscribe for more long-running series like this. But until then, I've been Toy Not Mark, and thank you all so much for watching.
Yo. So 60. Got 64. There's like 9 more volumes. Wait. 65. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there's like 8 more volumes. Craziness. Anyway, oh my god. I wish he went into the Kakashi Obito fight a little more detail. I feel like that is a very that's a big talking piece. That's a big talking piece. The way it keeps flashing back towards backwards into like their childhood and when they were training and fighting each other too. The serious adult fight, like absolutely incredible stuff. The Obito reveal and the Madara, and I don't know how he's going to fit everything into the next video. Finish it off. Be interested to see. Going to be a long video, surely. Has to be longer than half an hour. But anyway, thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video, upload a link in the description of the Patreon page. $1 a month is all that has to help support the channel. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you guys very much for that. And thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know I should watch this in future videos. And I'll see you guys, all you guys, next time.